Here with this week's hottest stories in the investment world, this is Zacks Friday Finish Line.
Hello, and welcome to the Zacks Friday Finish Line. I'm Ryan McQueeney, a content writer here at Zacks, along with one of our editors, Maddy Johnson.
Hello, and welcome back, Ryan.
It's good to be back.
Yes. So today is Friday, April 7th, and we're here to recap this week's biggest stories from the investment and financial world. We're going to be discussing the big announcement from Comcast that the cable provider will be launching its own wireless plan. Very interesting. An offer that could shake up the entire telecom industry, but we have a couple of other big headlines first.
Yeah, so it was certainly busy market throughout a busy week throughout the markets, I should say. Sorry. Stocks started the week in a bit of a slump, and then Wednesday came roaring back throughout the day, and it looked like we were on the cusp of a nice solid rally. And investors pulled back late in the day after the release of the minutes from the Fed's latest meeting. Some members of the central bank had some hesitant things to say about current prices on the stock market, and investors were a little bit #shook about it.
Or shooketh. This is the one I prefer to use.
But nevertheless, plenty of news from our favorite companies, including Amazon, which is where I want to start this week.
Yes, so Amazon announced that it won the bidding war for NFL's Thursday Night Football live streaming package. So the company is going to pay $50 million to stream 10 NFL games during the upcoming 2017 season. Amazon will not have any exclusive rights to these 10 games, as the NFL's big television partners, CBS, NBC, and its own NFL network, will split up coverage of the same 10 games for traditional broadcast and cable television audiences. So fans of traditional cable, have no fears.
Yeah.
Amazon won't steal this away from you, at least not yet. Amazon will offer the games for free to its Prime customers, adding the NFL's Thursday night offerings to the growing list of Prime benefits. And as we know, the membership includes the popular shopping incentives, but it also includes Amazon's ever-growing music, movies, and TV offerings. And there's an estimated 60 million households that use Amazon Prime. Amazon already produces its own original television programming, which includes the Emmy award-winning Transparent. Have you ever watched that show?
I have never watched Transparent. No, the only Amazon show I've done thus far has been Man on the High Castle or Man in the High Castle.
See, I tried to watch that. I couldn't really get into it.
Yeah, I had a weird alternative history phase when I was like 11, and so I tried to rekindle that a little bit. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
And Amazon also recently put Hollywood on notice with Manchester by the Sea, which took home 2 Oscars. That was a really good movie. Very sad.
And
Very sad.
Amazon Films produced that movie. So
yeah,
interesting fact.
Yeah.
I think it's important to keep that in mind now when we think about Amazon, that there's a certain wing of the company that is very much operating how media companies are operating right now, which is getting into live streaming, expanding out these this online streaming arsenal, and then as we've mentioned on the show before, the newest faces at the indie film festivals are Amazon and Netflix. Yeah, so they're invited now too. And I think this NFL deal is the next step in building this little mini media empire in a certain corner of Amazon as a company, which I find fascinating. We will remember Twitter had this. This is basically the same deal that Twitter had.
Well, and Twitter only paid $10 million.
Yeah, so
for it.
I think a double cosign of how valuable the NFL is right now. Big money league right now, obviously. But also how valuable companies are thinking this sports live streaming is. Even though it wasn't a bang on success for Twitter, they got outshined by the people watching on the regular outlets significantly. But maybe it's just because everything Twitter touches just doesn't work anymore.
It just kind of falls
Maybe
apart.
Amazon will figure it out. Also, something to note, I don't know if you know this or not, the Thursday night games are Color Rush games, which are the best NFL games.
Okay.
Color Rush are everyone has you if you play a Color Rush game, you have a Color Rush uniform once a year that you bust out, and it's your whatever your team's primary color is, you're just decked out head to toe in like a really glowing version of it. It's either ugly or
sounds kind of awful.
It's basically on any given Thursday night a bunch like 22 highlighters on
so
a
like
field
it's like
at
a
once.
Crayola crayon box.
Yeah, it's
on
crazy.
TV.
Yeah, it's crazy. And kind of hurts the eyes. And also they have some I would look into it. I know you like your fashion. So I would see what your favorites and your least favorites are because Color Rush is a whole thing.
I hope they're complementary colors. That's all I can say.
And I'll say some of them are disgustingly ugly and some of them are okay, that's a cool alternative uniform. But anyway, I digress. Color Rush Thursday nights. I like football.
Moving on.
Moving on to something another thing that I like. Delicious foods in quaint atmospheres. Panera Bread, bakery cafes, and ringing any bells.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Because I think this has a lot of potential. The more that I think about it, and the more that I think about it, the more it makes sense to me.
So in case you didn't hear, Panera Bread was bought out this week. Shares of the bakery cafe, but I'm going to reuse that phrase a lot over the next few minutes because that is how the company refers to its restaurants, as bakery cafes.
But it also has, well, okay. Because I guess whenever I go to a Panera, I'm always like, let me get a panini and soup.
Right, but that's like that's cafe food, right?
Yeah,
kinda?
Yeah, you're right.
And then there's also baked goods, thus bakery cafe.
I know.
Anyway, shares of the company
an identity crisis
opened nearly 13.5% higher on Wednesday morning after the company announced that it had sold itself to JAB or JAB. It's a German conglomerate that owns the likes of Krispy Kreme, Einstein Brothers Bagels, Keurig Green Mountain. That was a recent purchase, I believe. I think Caribou Coffee as well.
And Pete's.
Also kind of randomly Jimmy Choo.
Which I'm upset. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah, so this conglomerate, it's mostly majority stakes in the kind of breakfasty coffee brunch world, and then also designer shoes. Like those are good shoes. Yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy between what they've gone into. So they're going to acquire Panera for $315 per share. That's a 15% premium from the closing price on Tuesday afternoon. It's an all-cash deal valuing Panera at about $7.5 billion. Just to give a little heads up on where Panera is at, was this a good purchase? There were about 2,000 bakery cafes, to be specific, 2,036 total locations throughout North America, spread across the Panera Bread, St. Louis Bread Co., and Paradise Bakery brands. Obviously, everyone knows Panera Bread. I don't know if the St. Louis Bread Co. and Paradise Bakery are a little bit more regional. I don't think we have any around these parts.
I don't think so.
Have none in the Chicago area that I know of. But anyway, the company operates on this kind of interesting mix of company-owned and franchised stores. So out of the 2,000 or so bakery cafes, about 900 are still company-owned. And the new company said that it will support this, quote, company versus franchise store mix. And in the joint statement that both companies released, they're very clear that the vision of the future that Panera had is supported. So I wouldn't expect, if you're a big Panera Bread fan, I don't think I would expect many changes inside the restaurants themselves. And from an investor's perspective, this is a privately held company, so they will be going private, which their CEO described, I think, as a competitive advantage. So I wouldn't expect too many changes with how it's being operated either. But a sneak peek at Panera's first quarter financial results. In the statement, the company announced that company-owned comparable store sales increased 5.3% in the quarter. So this German breakfast and designer shoes conglomerate coming in at what seems like a good time. So mergers obviously going to depend on the approval of Panera shareholders, but both companies said that they expect the deal to close during the third quarter of this year. This was very quick. On Monday, we were talking about rumors.
Could potentially buy them.
Yes, people on the social media world immediately linking a Starbucks, and then this German conglomerate comes in and says, no, just kidding. It was us. We own Krispy Kreme. So yeah, I guess taking over monopolizing the fast breakfast and coffee world.
Yeah. It makes sense to me, though.
Yeah, I think it fits. Yeah.
It fits.
Yeah. If you were to tell me just off the cuff, I didn't know any of the details, that the person who owns Krispy Kreme just bought Panera Bread, I go, sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. So,
and I'm sure all their customers maybe have a pair of Jimmy Choos. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there could be
maybe not
crossover.
Probably not.
Oh man, that would be a really interesting crossover.
Every 5
concept.
cups of Panera Bread coffee, you can get maybe a pair of Jimmy Choos. Probably, maybe.
This reminds me of how like Yamaha makes like ski-doos and but also like pianos.
Yes.
And Bic has everything from razors to pens and lighters.
That's true.
So yeah,
they're well versed.
I digress again. Let's move on, I guess, to our main story. One that I think we'll be talking about probably again in the future, and one that I think investors will be talking about for quite some time. Comcast, big announcement this week from one of the world's biggest cable providers.
And the one with the worst customer service.
In your opinion?
Sure.
No, I don't want Comcast to sue us for libel, is what I'm saying. I agree with you, though.
Cable giant Comcast. They are a huge cable giant. They announced its long-awaited wireless phone service called Xfinity Mobile. So while the mobile plan will mainly be powered by its 16 million Wi-Fi hotspots, it will also leverage Verizon's wireless network. And this isn't the first time Comcast has partnered with Verizon in some way. So just throwing that out there. But Xfinity Mobile is set to launch by mid-2017. Comcast is bundling the service with its other Xfinity offerings, but customers must have, at a minimum, Xfinity Internet to sign up for the cable company's new mobile plans. So there's the catch. So you must already be a Comcast customer in some form or another in order to sign up for this plan.
Which I think, to bring in your point about how Comcast is often criticized for their customer service options, could potentially be something that holds this plan back. Because if I'm already how many existing Comcast customers are excited about being even more of a Comcast customer than they
especially
currently
dealing
are?
with like the already stressful mobile phone plans are just so stressful dealing with them in general, even with Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, no matter what company you go with, they're just stressful trying to negotiate. So when Comcast has that reputation, yes, I get what you're saying.
And to be fair, this is I think the telecom industry, which we'll talk about from a more broader perspective in a few minutes here. It always is. Everybody is getting flack for their customer service.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that people get frustrated with. I've never heard a good thing about anybody's cable or internet or phone service. Everyone's always complaining about it. So to be fair, it's not like
it's just Comcast.
Exactly.
It's everyone.
Yeah.
So X1 internet and cable packages subscribers get an quote-unquote unlimited plan for $45 per line, and anyone who subscribes to a Comcast internet service below X1, so X1 is like their top tier top tier option, can get another quote unquote unlimited plan for $65 a month per line. You can also pay per gigabyte, in which each gigabyte costs $12. And why I say quote unquote unlimited, because again, unlimited doesn't really mean unlimited. Unlimited means up until 20 gigabytes. And then
you get throttled.
Then you get throttled. Your speed starts slowing down. All of that nonsense. So Xfinity Mobile will offer the Apple iPhone, like the 7, the 7 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus, and the SE. Samsung smartphones like the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus, the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge, as well as LG's X Power phone, which I haven't heard of, but heard it's looks great.
It's definitely one of the top
other smartphones.
Yes.
Besides Samsung and Apple.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's big news for Comcast.
Definitely big news. Obviously, not to linger on the point, but important to consider that it's being marketed towards existing Xfinity customers, of which there are many. We're talking
There's
about
a lot, yes.
A worldwide
There
leader
are a
in
lot.
cable provider. So I've got some things I want to think about here, and just kind of questions to throw out there. One of the things about this plan is there's the 20 gigabyte kind of restriction, if you will, but you get access to HD streaming of videos on all of the different levels of the plan, which is something that other competitors like Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, what have you, the other players in the service provider world tend to only offer on their highest tier plans. They let you get away with the video streaming for free. To me, it seems like if Comcast is going to come in and offer this, those competitors, those people who are now definitely competitors of Comcast, maybe not directly in the past because they didn't have this wireless plan, but now you best believe your Sprints of the world are competing with Comcast for customers now. Should they reconsider that? Should HD video streaming as a basic option, as a basic amenity to your plan, become the norm for wireless providers?
Well, yes, but they're also gonna have to figure out a way to work it in to their they're gonna have to figure out how to eat those costs, and then.
So actually, let me wrap this into my second question, and then I'll make both of those questions one bigger question. Okay. Those same competitors that I listed, the other major mobile service providers, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile, they all have their different unlimited plans. They compete with each other. There's discounts all the time. It's getting even more feisty. I think commercials and advertising wise,
that one with the unlimited, like sign in the background, and then that guy from Silicon Valley with the microphones. And then the guy from the Sprint copied it.
Yeah. And then Sprint stole the guy who used to do AT&T.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting feisty, and they're name dropping each other. I love it. But anyway, so that's a really competitive sphere already. And it seems like they're constantly trying to outdo each other, plans wise, amenities wise, offers, discounts, what have you. Comcast with this unlimited plan, the one that can be bundled for $45 a month to existing customers. That $45 a month, if you look at the other unlimited data plans out there, that is a very competitive pricing point. I took a glance at some of the comparable plans from the competitors I mentioned, and it's really looking like Comcast is coming in just a little bit under the comparable plans out there right now, which leads me to the question of, could we be on the cusp of the price of a price war? But I want to wrap my previous question about should HD video streaming for free become the norm on unlimited data plans, and say, how seriously do you think wireless service providers, the other cell phone provider giants out there are going to take Comcast as a provider of mobile service.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take them so seriously right now just because they're so new, but they're also Comcast, right?
Yeah.
They're this huge cable giant. They're not someone to be brushed off so easily.
So what? Basically, I mean, you've got the big four: Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile. Is it a big five now? I don't know. I don't know if it's that easy, especially when you consider the fact that it's only being marketed towards existing Xfinity customers. They're
still testing this out.
Yeah, they are still testing it out. I will say this: 16 million Wi-Fi hotspots already out there. Competitive advantage, being able to just extend your network anywhere that those don't already reach by banking off the Verizon network, which is one of the best out there, if not the best. Advantage. Those are two big things going for it. So I don't know. I mean, I would. It'll be interesting to see those companies' reactions to this new Comcast plan, because I think that'll be the answer to the question of how seriously they're going to take Comcast as a cell phone provider,
right?
Or as a cell service provider, I should say.
Will they partner with another cable company? Will another cable company follow in Comcast's footsteps?
Yeah. Is this going to become the norm for cable companies? Yeah. I mean, another thing I'll throw in there to consider: you don't have the biggest library of phones that are going to be available, but the ones that are mattering right now, I would say, are options. I mean, if you've got your service working with the iPhone, you've got interested customers for sure. And it really does seem like this is one of those things where people are constantly, as a consumer, looking for the cheapest option. And bundling back in the days of when home phones were still relevant was a way that cable companies were able.
Well, you're incentivizing. You look at what AT&T is doing with HBO.
Mm-hmm.
The AT&T Time Warner merger hasn't even gone through, and they're taking advantage of HBO and people's love of HBO and HBO content. For AT&T has this new wireless plan as well. And they're throwing in a free HBO prescription.
It feels like that.
Sometimes it relieves something. It fixes you. Subscription.
Or the other way around.
You're right. So, I mean, this kind of partnership between cable companies and telecom providers, it's not new. And I think it's just something that we need to get used to going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? This could just be the start of a relationship between Verizon and Comcast.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. But in many ways, there's still going to be a competitive nature between the two, too. And I think what you were just saying leads me immediately to my next question, looking more at the telecom industry as a whole, and not just at the service providers or the wireless service providers. We've seen a lot of fluctuation in the industry. We've talked about it on the show before that telecom seems to be one of the few that is just in the most constant state of flux right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of starting to blend together with the media industry as a whole, becoming this huge force to be reckoned with in so many different areas. We've had the AT&T Time Warner deal. We've had Verizon and Yahoo deal. We've had Charter and Time Warner merging all within the past year. That's a lot of change. That's almost like everybody's in a constant. It's a constant state of flux. I don't necessarily want you to hit on why that's happening, because I'm sure there's a million different answers. But what's your big takeaway from all these changes in the telecom industry? How does it make you feel?
It's just I feel like it's changing consumer preferences in a way where kind of like almost like throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. And if it's a cable company or if it's a telecom company buying a cable company, sure, let's do that. Or if it's Verizon buying a really struggling internet company, sure, let's do that. But I mean, they're kind of scooping up all of these assets that they can use to grow their consumer base, grow their customer base, and then in a sense grow their bottom line.
Yeah, definitely. I like that imagery of throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. But I almost wonder if we're in a chicken or the egg type of situation, because as you mentioned, you're seeing these changes as something that is helping to change alongside of it, change consumer preferences. I'm almost wondering if it's this state of flux is a response to
that's what I meant.
Change. Okay, cool.
Or like a reaction to changing consumer preferences.
Definitely, I think that's definitely what it is. Although there is a bit of a chicken and the egg thing too, where these changes have the ability to influence consumers' options, which then obviously changes their interests as well. But it's I think over the past decade or so, the way that we consume media, the way that we connect to the internet, where we connect to the internet, when we connect into the internet, why we connect to the internet, the way that we connect to our wireless networks to communicate with people on our cell phones, all of these different things, all of these places where these telecom giants come in and are the connection for us, all of that has changed on a consumer level over the past decade or so significantly. There's plenty of reasons why. Cord cutting, the cord cutting revolution, just the advent of new technology, the availability and accessibility of the internet and wireless signals.
Right.
And so it's put these companies up against a wall where the traditional ways of doing business weren't going to work anymore. Big cable companies going, okay, what do we do when nobody wants to buy cable packages anymore because they save a ton of money and still get all of their shows online somewhere else. And so you have to respond to that. And as we have seen in a lot of industries through history, the way to respond to anything that threatens profitability is mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah. And this might be a cynical look, but it's also, I mean, we can't really escape these companies in a sense too, where even if we we had cable for so long, where we interacted with Comcast or other cable companies for so long. We cut the cord. We were like, we're done with you. But yet we still need Comcast for internet, right? We still need them for our internet provider.
And in many places, it's your only option.
It's my only option. But now I need a cell phone, or I don't want Verizon. I don't want AT&T. I don't want Sprint. Comcast, that might be my only option. So I'm still stuck with them. I'm still tethered to them time and time again. I guess what I'm trying to say is these big, huge corporations, the way that they're merging and the way they're acquiring one another, they're just becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So they're keep infiltrating our lives in a way that there's really no matter what shape or form that they take, they're going to be there. We're still going to keep needing them for different purposes.
Yes. And I would say that's exactly what they want. So
of course.
good on them. It's working. Just another way that Comcast can be a part of our everyday lives, which to many people is frustrating. And I think personally as a Comcast customer, my roommate is actually the one who the bill is on his account, so I make him do all the customer service stuff when we have problems with it, because I'm like, nope, it's you.
It's you.
I don't want to deal with it. Because that's how frustrating it can be at times. So yeah, I think that's about it. We touched on some interesting things. I think probably the conversation ended up being more philosophical in a sense than about this specific
ways
deal.
They can be.
But let us know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are we too cynical? Do we hate Comcast too much for no reason? Do you like Comcast? Will you be interested in this new wireless plan, Xfinity Mobile? Let us know. Or if we missed something, if you want us to cover a different story, you can always email us at podcast@zacks.com. Check out all of our exclusive audio content at zacks.com/podcast. That's about it. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining us as always, and we will see you next week.